Hey everyone, this is Michael from Hummingbot, and we're coming at you with another edition of Hummingbot Live, the show where we talk about the new features that we released Hummingbot, and we bring on guests who will help us understand how algorithmic trading, market making, and other aspects of kind of like the wild west world of crypto works. Today, I'm really happy to have Reuben from ZCoin on. ZCoin is one of the best privacy coin projects in the space. Reuben has been an experienced person in crypto, and so he knows a lot about the market. I'm really pleased that to have him today, where he can share his insights with us. So, with that, Reuben, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Yeah.
Wait 1 second, sorry. Let me just make sure that we are streaming. Great, we are. You are on YouTube Live, Hummingbot Live with me.
Great. So I guess I'll do an introduction of myself, I guess. Yeah.
Please.
So I'm Reuben. I'm the project steward of ZCoin. Formerly COO, but just recently changed. And basically, ZCoin is a privacy coin, and we really believe in that. The original purposes of Bitcoin, which was to be like a currency that was above any type of control, and it was kind of like started in the background of the subprime mortgage crisis, where basically we realized that banks, financial institutions, and the governments sometimes don't have our back. We basically had to bail them up for their own mistakes, and they needed to be a money that was above that. Now, I guess Bitcoin has done a decent job on that, but the idea of whether it is truly uncensorable, whether you can truly control it, I think that is will be called into question because, well, in Bitcoin, it's not private at all. It's only pseudonymous. So the way that we see, yes, there's obviously a bunch of other privacy coins out there, but the way that Zcoin does our privacy is quite different in that we allow people to destroy their coins and then redeem them later for brand new ones with no previous transaction history. So unlike other kind of solutions which are kind of like hiding in the crowd, like mixing other transactions or combining it with other transactions to have like plausible deniability, here we're kind of breaking the transaction graph.
Okay.
Uh, and oops, there's a repeating
So
of the
no, sorry. I was just checking that the stream was actually working and speaking
sure.
live too. So sorry. Go ahead.
And the other thing that we did is that yes, although we are privacy coin, we do have other applications of our privacy technology. For example, we did a Thai Democrat Party election to elect their party leader in Thailand. I think the end of 2018, and it was like over 127,000 people nationwide in Thailand actually casting votes on the blockchain
Oh wow.
to the new party leader. So I think that was like a world's first. That's really cool, and we are soon to allow people to launch their own tokens on the Zcoin platform. That means, and the best thing about it is that it inherits all our privacy features.
Got it.
So let's say if you want to build like a Tether equivalent or something like that, you can have like a private version of that, or many other applications. You can have your own votes, like little elections on it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Okay.
it in a nutshell.
Cool. And I know that Zcoin is different from Zcash, which I think
Hmm.
people have heard of.
Sure.
This is not a technical,
Sure.
show, but maybe would you mind just spending it just very briefly? What are the key differences between Zcoin and Zcash?
Sure. So I guess like Zcash, yes, they have similar type of features. They also use zero knowledge proofs, but the cryptography that they use is quite experimental, and also the constructions themselves are very complex. And I think perhaps one of the biggest criticisms is that it has something called trusted setup. Basically, you have to trust that certain initial parameters were done properly, and if not, then you can create coins out of thin air, right? So Zcoin doesn't inherit any of this. We're using pretty standard like cryptographic building blocks that's used throughout the industry. We don't have trusted setup, and I guess the idea is that we're offering almost similar levels of privacy without taking the risks. And I guess one of the things with blockchain is that it's like verify, don't trust, right? So I guess like stuff like trusted setup or
Hmm.
complex systems that only a few people in the world understand that actually kind of leads through to security through obscurity. It's
Hmm.
kind of like that, right?
Right.
So we want to make like a simpler system that everyone can verify that it works and works. Yeah, that's right.
Cool. And it's already, I assume it's already on mainnet and people
Yes,
can. Yeah.
definitely correct. Yeah.
Great. Great. That's awesome. And then so how do you kind of like what was your motivation for kind of like getting involved with Hummingbot? Like what was like the underlying problem that you were looking to solve by
With
you know
Zcoin or in crypto in general?
yeah, yeah, I mean I'm in more with like really like in particular with Zcoin. I guess what made you interested in Hummingbot originally?
Oh,
Like what
Hummingbot,
was
right.
Hummingbot? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had experiences. I mean, like, we didn't have any like fancy ICO. That means we don't have a
Yeah.
bunch of pre-allocated tokens for us that we can use, right? And especially during the like the 2017 boom and everything like that. Yes, we were talking to market makers, and it was seen as a necessary thing. Like all projects should have a market maker, which is kind of sad, but
Yeah.
maybe that's the reality of a burgeoning market, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
actually,
still.
let's peel back the onion on that because I think this is actually market making is one of the things that I've discovered is it's almost like it's a very opaque and
Mhm.
industry that just, a lot of people just don't know why it exists, how big it is, and everything. So, like why were as a project like what led you to even think about hiring a market maker? Like what was where did the need come from?
Well, basically, I mean, it all boils down to liquidity, right? And the idea is that you want people to be able to buy and sell without too much of a spread. That means, like, if I'm buying, like, 2 Bitcoin worth of
Yeah,
Zcoin, am I going to pump it up to 10%? If that's the case, everyone's really not going to put in any sort of buys because they're like, I rather buy it over a very long period of time.
yeah,
So I guess the idea of market making is to facilitate that. I want to buy Zcoin, I want to sell Zcoin. I have to make sure that there's enough liquidity on both sides so that
got
trade
it, got
happens.
it.
And yeah.
And was this like I guess like was it like something that did an exchange kind of like say hey you should hire a market maker or maybe one of your advisors like who like how did you kind of like who kind of like said hey you should hire a market maker?
Basically, yes. I mean, definitely exchanges are like, hey, look, look at your volume. You need to
Mm,
get that number up. And the thing is that we kind of knew like the rest of the others, a lot of the other projects. We felt that a lot of the market making there may not have been like entirely genuine.
right.
Like some of the markets makers we talked to almost said like, oh, we only do a little bit of wash trading, or like the majority. It's like, that's there should have never be any wash trading. What are we talking about, right?
Right,
And
right,
then, you're seeing all these volumes. It's almost like everyone's just looking at like coin market cap and like looking at, all right, that's like a really strongly traded coin. And
right.
then you look at Zcoin, which doesn't do any wash trading or anything like that. It's like, yeah, that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
And you can actually see, like, even from top tier projects, which projects employ market makers or not. It's really obvious. Like, I think one of the coins that we've been looking at, like for example Grin, or Decred, you take a look at them, they didn't engage market makers, and the volumes, especially in this market, are dismal, like,
Mm,
10 Bitcoin per Bitcoin or something like that. And that's me the real volume. While you see other projects, like, like projects that are like rank 150 or 200, they're doing like, I don't know, like few millions of dollars of volume a day, and you're like, where's the demand coming from, right?
yeah.
Even on so-called more legitimate exchanges. I mean, not to say that the exchange is game here, but obviously something's not quite right. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is where I mean I do think there are I'll call it two types of market makers in the market.
Yes, of course, of course. Not
Yeah.
not not everyone is like that. I mean, there'll be the more I mean, we have engaged some market makers that have like, they're like, oh, yeah,
Mm,
we're never gonna cross that line and
right.
things like that. While there will be others that saying, oh yeah, we have a big announcement, we can help support that,
Yeah.
things like that, right? And then it starts like that's already, I think, crossing the line, right?
Yeah.
um, and some of the market makers that we were speaking to were asking like huge amounts of liquidity,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
obviously, like, we have to provide our own
Yeah.
inventory, right? That
Oh yeah.
means
Yeah.
some of
That's interesting.
yeah.
Actually, let's talk about that. Like, what does a typical market making arrangement look like? What is like a
Sure.
yeah.
Well, I think like I guess on the low end, like there'll be a market making fee.
Mhm.
That means that's the fee that the market maker charges. Can typically range anything between, I guess, 7, 8,000 all the way up to 25 or even more, 25,000 a month. And then that's only the fee. You have to give them inventory. That means some of your own token or any tokens that you want to pairing with. That means you want Bitcoin, some Ethereum, and there may be some arrangements because obviously when they trade the inventory, there's the possibility that you lose the inventory. So if you lose the inventory, you bear it, as in the project bears it, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if they make some money, then maybe they share like 50-50 with you, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost
Yeah.
like a win-win for them. um, and the amounts being asked, like it depends. I feel like the more legitimate market makers will look at your coin, and like for example, like something like Zcoin would probably have, okay, 50,000 US dollars worth of Zcoin and 50,000 US
Mhm.
dollars worth of Bitcoin, and I think that's realistic, right? I mean,
Okay.
you don't need like hundreds of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
while some other market makers would be like, give us like 100 or 200 Bitcoins worth of Zcoin and 200 Bitcoins worth of Bitcoin, and we're like, in that case, you're not just the market maker, you are the market, right? Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I think is the case for many, many projects. And, people may see it as important, but it's effectively, I mean, for ICOs, because they just raise all this amount of money, and it's almost like they can sometimes have to fake it till they make it.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I can understand, but at the same time, it's also making like a lot of unrealistic expectations for projects that don't do this type of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess what are they in return for this money? Like, what are the deliverables that they're
so I mean, obviously, what's the, how much orders you have on the book, what's the spread, like, like I want to keep like, the buy and sell book within like a point something percent,
okay.
or, make sure, I guess that's, I mean, yeah, I mean, pretty
Okay.
basic, right?
Got it.
And of course, good market makers will not be able to promise volume because
Yep.
you can't do that. But obviously, I mean, especially in the previous era, where everything there were some, like, I guess, like ballpark figures of what kind of volume they think they could achieve.
Mhm.
But generally, I think, especially right now, I think Hummingbot has also realized that by aligning their bounties to be more about all the sizes, about the spread and how much liquidity is on the books, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
those are like the deliverables.
Yeah. But one question I always wondered is like, because like these market makers are promising like to fulfill obligations related to uptime, spread, and all this kind of stuff. Like, so how do you verify that they're actually
Yeah.
doing that?
Sure. I mean, like some of them, they just give like your monthly reports.
Okay.
Others have some like, live dashboard,
Oh.
which, I guess, I think is a much better improvement for that.
Yeah.
So that you, of course, I mean, you're still trusting them that the dashboard is real,
Yeah.
but for the most part, I think it is. So I guess there are some monitoring
Okay.
tools for that. But yeah.
Cool. 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 And so I think you mentioned you've been running Hummingbot instead of
Yeah.
hiring market maker. Like can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So we, you know, what's right? When
Okay.
okay, so what was I saying? All right. Yes. So we decided to run on our own bot, make sure that the product works, and it actually does a really good job. And remember, like, none of us are market makers. We don't come from any sort of finance background, right? And the guy that's helping me to do it, yeah, we're just like techies, right? And
Yeah.
we noticed that Hummingbot had several strategies like pure market making, and also it had like cross market making, and of course the more adventurous strategies which we don't dare to touch because we're not
Yeah.
we're not experts. But even